Welcome to episode 11 of the Universally Epic Podcast, your go to Universal Orlando trip planning podcast. I'm Jim Klein, along with Taylor Franklin, and we are your hosts and travel agents for all things Universal. In today's show, Universal releases which attraction will be included in early park admission. We also discuss Universal's land and sea packages, and we also continue our series on opening day attractions, where we're going to discuss one of my personal favorites, Kongfrontation. So let's start off with our first topic, which is Universal just released the Epic Universe Early Park Admission um, rides that are going to be open. Have you seen this?
I have. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. So I'm actually a little surprised at the attraction. So they decided to go with basically everything in Super Nintendo World. You have um, Donkey Kong Country, like the mine cart. You have the
Mhm.
Yoshi Adventure, and then you have the Mario Kart. And then they also threw in Stardust Racers, which obviously we've already talked about this before, but Stardust Racers are is going to be one of the better roller coasters in the park. I
Yeah.
feel. I am shocked that like Harry Potter's not like listed on there because the other parks are like Harry Potter, but I guess maybe that'll like force people to go if they want to do Harry Potter like early to the other
Well,
parks. Or what do you think?
I think that maybe it's because of like the direction they kind of want people to go in Epic. And it's kind of the same for like most parks where they're kind of like pushing you to one side of the park. So like for early admission for Universal, they want people to go back towards Hagrid's and make their way to the front of the park.
Yeah,
Um so they can like get people in the gate, but they kind of want you to experience Epic kind of like in the circle that it's supposed to be in.
gotcha.
Though personally, I feel like you don't have to start in Super Nintendo Land.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those, like, do you go left or right when you enter the park, you know?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like the age old epic question or Epcot question where it's like, do you start in Mexico? Or
Yeah, exactly, yeah, Canada or Mexico, which way do you
yeah.
go? Um, but, yeah, I get it because, like, they do have over in Hollywood, they have, like, that special ticket that you could purchase to get into Super Nintendo World early.
Mhm.
Um, do you think they go that route also? Like, do you think they go even earlier than the 1 hour and, like,
I
try to
don't think
squeeze more
so
money out?
because it's like it's its own park and
Yeah,
it's not really like they don't have to deal with quite the amount of crowds that like Hollywood would have to deal with.
yeah.
Um I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't. More than I think about it, probably not because you have the whole resort there, so that's like a resort
Yeah.
perk where like
Mhm.
Hollywood, like you can stay at hotels that have like relationships with Universal, but they're not like actual, like it's not a whole,
Right.
you know. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, so it'll be good to get in early, especially if you have kids and you want to check out Nintendo World.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be probably one of the more popular lands when it first opens up. But, like, we've been talking about all the different lands, like, there's so much going on there that, like and there's so many attractions, like, that are gonna open, so it's gonna be a
Mhm.
great time, like, anyway. So, you know or do you just start heading towards, Ministry of Magic? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just kinda, like there's probably gonna be a line waiting for that more so than, like,
Yeah,
Harry
I mean,
Potter.
there's
Just
definitely gonna be,
go.
like, up on those barricades that they
Yeah,
always put, there's definitely gonna be people waiting there. Um, or I don't know, because here's my thing, and this is the 3rd installment for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and we kind of know very little about it. They've released some information, but we kind of know, like, in comparison to everything else, so it's very possible that, like, honestly, like, Super Nintendo Land obviously will have all of the, praise and everybody will wanna be there, but it's also kind of possible that Dark Universe, especially with Wolfman that just came out today, um, it's very possible that Dark Universe will have quite the line over there too.
yeah. I think you're gonna have a lot of different people going to a lot of different places when it first
Yeah.
opens, right? Like, it's so, like there's so many different, like, groups of people, right? You have the Halloween Horror Night people that are definitely going to Dark Universe, like, that. Like, they're just
100%.
like, they could care less about, Nintendo World in the morning, and they just wanna be on, like, Wolfman and Frankenstein and, like, all that stuff right off the bat. So, like, I could see that happening, and I could see that line getting pretty long, like, getting uh, so you think there's, like, a limit to how many people are in these portals, right?
I
Like,
think there
it's really
has to
small.
be, right? Because
Yeah,
there's one entrance and one exit.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, so when it but also I guess you're controlling that at the front gate as well as how many people are in the land. But like if they're gonna pack this place out, I would imagine, right? Like, but you also don't want 3 hour lines for every single thing. So there's
Yeah,
got to be a balance there when they first open. And
right.
this early park admission doesn't open up on day one on May 22nd. It opens up on May 23rd, so it's the next day that it starts. So if anybody's going down, just to know that. Um, yeah, so that's early park admission. So um, enjoy Nintendo World, and enjoy Stardust Racers. It's gonna be a great roller coaster. Have you seen the um, the video online of Stardust Racers at night?
Yes.
Amazing. It looks
I'm
so
so excited. I like you were listing off the opening day opening day attractions, I guess. Um and I was like, okay, everybody can go have fun in Super Nintendo Land. I'm gonna be going for the fourth time on Stardust Racers. So
it looks incredible. It looks incredible. The lighting on there it's gonna be so good.
I'm a
It's gonna
coaster junkie, and that's a beautiful coaster.
it looks amazing. And like we talked about, it's kind of got that dueling dragons type vibe to it, and it's
Mhm.
gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be so cool. Yeah, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is these land and sea package options that they have at Universal. Many people probably don't know they're even offering these now, so we're going to run through it real quick, and I'll let you know like what is included in that package. So it's you get a 1 to 3 night stay at select hotels. Those hotels are Portofino Bay, Sapphire Falls, Stella Nova, Terra Nova, no Terra Luna. I always mess that up. Always, Cabana Bay and Endless Summer Dockside. So those resorts there, you have a choice of those resorts. Obviously, if you stay at Portofino Bay, you get the unlimited express pass. You can get 1 to 3 days of park tickets. You could do a 2 park or 3 park ticket, but you must have the park to park option on those tickets. The package also includes transportation from your Universal Hotel to Port Canaveral, so it's only for Port Canaveral, no other ports. And there is an option that you can add on that will bring you back to MCO when you're all done with your cruise. Now, here's the catch, though: you can't book this on your own. You have to go through someone like us. Like you have to book it through a travel agent. So if you're interested, let us know. But just for just for our sake, I just did a little sample pricing for March 7th to the 9th, let's say. So let's say you're getting on the ship on the 9th, and you want to spend 2 days in the park. A 2 day park to park at at Dockside was $1,344.67. So you have like a little mini vacation like prior to getting on your cruise ship. I think it's pretty good. Like I like the idea, you know. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean, it's a lot like what Disney does with the Disney Cruise Line, where there are packages that you can get where you can do both.
yeah, it's a nice little option for you, you know. And if you're flying in beforehand, you could always get the Superstar shuttle if you want that option from MCO to your resort. So that's that. The options are, I think they give you a good choice on the hotels as well, especially if you. Oh, let's talk about Stella Nova real quick. Let me like jump off to the. Have you seen those videos online?
I have.
So what are your thoughts?
I'm apprehensive. I was really excited when they kind of announced what's going on with the Stella Nova and the Terra Luna. Before we got to see kind of like the inside, we were just looking at concept art. Um, and then I saw it.
It's a little plain inside, right?
It
Like,
feels really confined.
yeah, yeah. It's like
The rooms feel really small.
they do, they do. But you also do have to think think along the lines of like a Aventura type price. You know what I mean? It's in that category. So
Yeah.
like if instead of looking at it as like a brand new hotel, like it's not in the signature collection. So like it's the pricing is very reasonable for the hotels.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're not getting a ton of space in there. And I had a
Yeah.
question. So I see a lot of like influencers and stuff and media that are going there, right? Is the 3rd floor the only floor to have that, like, space ceiling, those that lighted ceiling? Because every single one of them mentioned the 3rd floor and the
I
ceiling was
think
dark with light.
so.
So, like, I don't get that. Like, why not have it all over?
I don't know.
It's strange to me because everybody kept saying 3rd floor, 3rd floor. I'm like, "So why would you just go to" I don't understand why you would just go to the 3rd floor to check this out.
Yeah.
Right? That's so weird to me. I heard that they had NASA do the constellations on the wall in the lobby. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear about that actually.
That is a kinda cool like, touch. The food looks good too. Like, the food definitely looks they had, like
Mhm.
somebody was eating pancakes with, like, I don't know, some banana thing on top. It was looked so good. It was you know me, I
Yeah,
like
we'll
pan
see if it beats the Bayliner Diner.
or my food court at, Aventura. I love that place. I couldn't oh my god. That buffalo chicken sandwich over there was so good. Oh, it was
We
so
keep meaning to go over to the Aventura every time we're there, and we just it never happens.
yeah, it's nice. Well, you know what it is? So if you're at Cabana Bay, to get to Aventura, you literally look and it's like right across the street, but you can't cross the street right there. So you have to walk all the way down to the far end of Cabana Bay and then walk all the way back past Sapphire Falls to
Yeah.
Aventura. So it's like it is quite the hike because I was like, "Oh," one morning I woke up super early like before everybody and I was like, "Oh, let me go check out Cabana Bay." And I was like, "Alright, I'll just walk over." How far could it be? I was walking and walking, I'm like, "It's right there." Like, I see it the whole time. And then you get over there and you're like, "Now the lobby's all the way back over there." Like, it was
Yeah, no, it would just be more, advantageous, I guess, of you to, get on the bus
yeah,
and ride it to Aventura.
so weird. It was such a weird thing. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Man, this is taking a long time." It was cool though. I like checking out resorts like
Yeah,
early in the morning. Like I get up so early on vacation. It's so bad.
me
Like I'll
too.
wake up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Well, okay, so I'm usually up until like midnight or so during the
Mhm.
week or like anytime. It's usually like when I'm like, "Oh, I have to go to bed now." It's like midnight. So like when I wake up, I do wake up like 6:30 in the morning, like normally. But when I'm on vacation, I'm going to bed because we're in the room at like let's say 10 o'clock at night. I'm not keeping everybody up, so I'm just like laying down. I pass out, so I get my 6 hours of sleep. That's 4 in the morning. Like,
Yeah,
so like, so when I sleep till 5 or 6 on vacation, it's like extra sleep for me. So and I'm up ready to go at like 5:30 every vacation, and I don't
it
mind.
was it was
I like
really nice, when we had all of the people for HHN, because I would get up, 6, 7, and I'd go take a shower, get my makeup on, get ready to go to the parks, and then I'd be like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll go get coffee from Starbucks." I mean
yeah, I get up early and I kind of nudge my daughter, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to go?" And she like pops out of bed with me. She's the early one. My son is the one that sleeps in with my wife. And, yeah, we'll go out, like, before the sun even rises. Like, we stopped at Starbucks when we were at Aventura, we stopped at Starbucks before, grabbed the Starbucks, and, like, walked over to Cabana Bay together. It was awesome. Oh my god, it was so much fun. And then the sun's coming up. You get great photos too. If
Oh,
you like,
yeah.
sunrises on vacation are great. They're amazing. I love it. It's, it's something that me and my daughter do. Pretty nice.
That's really precious.
Um, yeah, so land and sea packages, like I said, you have to book it through a travel agent. If you're interested, let us know. Um, you can email us. We have a new email. Let's start there, right?
We do.
Universityepicpodcast@gmail.com. So send any question if you want to listen. If you want a question on the air, we'll read them out and we'll answer them. That's universallyepicpodcast@gmail.com. So right now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our series on opening day attractions with Kongfrontation. Stay right there, and we'll be right back. The Universally Epic podcast is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel, a Universal you preferred travel agency. If you are looking to plan your next Universal Orlando vacation, let's do it together. As a certified Universal specialist, I can help guide you through the planning process with helpful tips and tricks along the way. The best part, all my travel planning services are absolutely free to use. And when you book your Universal Orlando vacation with me, you qualify for an exclusive booking bonus offer from the Magic for Less Travel, a $25 Universal gift card for all vacation packages over $2,500. Ready to start planning? Email me at jim.klein@themagicforless.com to start planning your next epic Universal vacation. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to get back into our series on opening day attractions at Universal Studios. Today, we're going to talk about Kongfrontation. Kongfrontation was one of my personal favorite rides as a kid. It was amazing, and I'm going to take you through how it all started with this attraction. So, um, it opened on opening day, June 7th, 1990. It was based on the 1933 King Kong and its remake in 1976, and it was this all kind of goes back to when everything kind of goes back to like the tram tour, it seems, at Universal Studios in Florida. So back in the day, 1986, on the studio tour, there was a King Kong encounter, um, and that was their first like King Kong attraction at Universal, and that was in Hollywood. And on the tram, you would come face to face with like a 30-foot animatronic um, King Kong. Thing weighed 7 tons. So
I believe it.
it was a huge, huge success, and they loved it. So like that was 1986. So the wheels got turning, and they're like, okay, we have to like bring this to the Florida park. When they decided like to start creating the park, that King Kong encounter at the on the studio tour burned down in 2008. So that was interesting little fact that I found. Also,
I
uh,
remember that. I so we were annual pass holders for Universal Hollywood, and 2008, I believe, was around the time that we were going like really really heavily. And I remember my mom being like, "Oh, can't go this weekend." And I was like, "Why not?" And she was like, "Well, because I'm not going down there unless I can get on the tram tour, and they won't let us on the tram tour because King Kong burned down." And I cried
that's
for hours. I thought they killed King Kong.
so funny. That's so funny. Uh, that's not the last you'll see a King Kong on the studio tour, which I'll get to later on. But because there is one right now, so that'll come later on when I'm discussing it. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because it was such a great part of the tram tour at the time. Um, but because of that success, like in Orlando, they're like, okay, we need to create a standalone attraction for it. So, and boy, did they do it right. I loved it. So here's what it was. So you first got into the queue, and the queue felt like an old school like subway station almost. I know you're going on to like a tram, but it felt more like a dirty subway station. It had like graffiti all over the place. It kind of felt dirty, like really dirty. It was it yeah, I see your face. Like it was for some reason it just like resonated with me. It was just like, okay, this is it was just so like I guess because I've taken trips to New York City back in the day, and
Okay, that's fair.
it was like, okay, like they kind of got it right here. Like we just missing the guy peeing in the corner, you know?
So you were nostalgic for a dirty subway station. Okay,
It almost like
okay.
you felt unsafe right off the bat, you know? Um, so you get up to the front, right? And they had these like old like videos, and it's the pre-show is like a news report of King Kong on the loose in New York. And then it cuts to this like reporter, this woman reporter in a helicopter. Terrible, terrible acting, and it was so bad. Like I rewatched the video on YouTube, and she's like, "Oh, Kong is on loose. Be careful." And all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, look out!" And she's like screams and the video feed cuts out. And then what do you do after that? Of course you get on the tram because that makes all the sense in the world. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you just got knocked out of the sky in a helicopter and like, yeah, just get on this tram. We're gonna go tour the city. Like it's so
You're safe on the tram, don't
yeah, it's
worry.
so far fetched. So the ride vehicles were actual tram cars. They were modeled after the Roosevelt Island tram cars. And each tram car did have a live actor on it, like many other, like Jaws had one, and they just added. I love live actors on rides. I just it's great. The only one that I don't like is people are gonna hate me for this one, but this is a Universal podcast, so yeah, not a
Same.
big not a big fan of the Jungle Cruise. I'm not. I'm sorry. I just don't
Thank
like.
you.
I don't like the jokes aren't funny. The guy like hates it when you don't laugh, and it's just like, okay, what are we doing here? And then the last time we went on, it broke down. Took us like an hour to get off this ride. It was so annoying, and like the guy's still trying. We're stuck, and he's still trying to talk to us about like these little corny jokes. I don't find the attraction of it. Like, and I brought my kids on there, right? I know this is so like off topic, right? We're talking
It's
our kids,
okay.
but and they're like, "Is this supposed to be funny?" Like, they were even like, "This isn't funny. Like, this
Oh,
is not it's
no.
so uncomfortable." It was so uncomfortable, and I don't know. I just don't get it. So, but for some reason, the live actors at Universal, amazing. They actually much like when there was live actors at the Great Movie Ride,
Mhm.
right? Loved it. That was great. It because it played a role, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just like awful jokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that part of the problem see, we're going on the Jungle Cruise thing for a moment. I think that part of the problem with Jungle Cruise is that all of those jokes have been told for,
Yeah.
like, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Everyone knows them, everyone knows the punchline, it's just it's
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's not
Well, Disney will definitely not be sponsoring us.
yeah, they're not gonna be Alright, back to Universal. Here we go. Alright, so you have the live actors on the podcast. We're talking on the podcast right now.
On the podcast.
On the podcast. No, so they're on the tram and you take off. And you're kind of going through what they claim to be like the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And it's like it's kind of a mess. Like cars everywhere. There's fire hydrants like shooting water up in the air. Um, and basically you hear the news reporter like there's a live feed onto the tram basically, and you hear the over the radio the news reporter like speaking of Kong and be careful out there type of thing. And then you finally get to see King Kong for the first time, and he's hanging from the Brooklyn Bridge, and that first sight of him is like awesome. It's kind of similar to like what it is now over in Skull Island. Um, and it's a cool thing back in the day. Now this is you see Kong twice on this ride. So this is the first one, and you like narrowly get away from him, right? You turn a corner and there's that helicopter. That news lady, I guess, didn't fall out of the sky. The helicopter's shining this huge bright light into the tram, like blinding you. And then the actor's like, "Oh, you're blinding us, so you can't see where we're going. We're on a cable car. I don't understand what you're talking about, but whatever, right? Like it's going wherever it's going. Like, and so then you turn. So it's like, you know what they're doing for the big reveal. Then you get the big reveal, and there's Kong just staring you down on the side. It is one of the best moments I've had on any attraction ever. So King Kong just is angry, right? And he picks up your tram. And then this okay, this part's not the best part, but he he lets out this growl and it smells like bananas, which is just crazy. And then he takes the tram and he feels as though he tosses you and you kind of drop a little bit and you finally get caught. I don't know why this resonates with me so much, but I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. This thing is moving around. It looked real. It was so good. Like as a kid, I was blown away by it. I loved it. So then and that's it really. So then as you're pulling back into the station, they have a little like news clip come on and there's these TVs off to the side and then they're like, "Oh, these people we caught on camera." And it's you like, they just recorded you in your confrontation with King Kong and you see yourself like go by. Really bad technology obviously. Like, doesn't look very good. But this is back in the '90s. It was great. I loved it. And then when you got into like when you left, you walked through um like a gift shop, and they had a King Kong like thing there that you could like take a picture with. So that was King Kong. Like it was so different, and especially like growing up going to Disney and stuff, and then you come over to like Universal and you see something like that, and you're like, man, this is nuts. Everything. It seems like Universal just tried to just be a little bit different, a little bit edgier, and it worked. It worked for me because
Mhm.
I was hooked. I was hooked. Uh,
Funnily enough, actually, the King Kong encounter in Hollywood now um, is actually also the reason that I fell in love with Universal Studios.
oh, really? That's so funny.
Mhm.
So I have that in my notes here too. So before we get to that, so King Kong Confrontation ended up closing in 2002. That made way for Revenge of the Mummy. Love the ride, but we'll talk about that ride in detail at another time. But yeah, it was it. What the problem was there was so many moving parts in this ride that it would constantly break down, and it was just getting to a point where the downtime like was almost exceeding the ride time. So it's much like every other opening day attraction is extended downtime, and it's just like, yeah, we know, we get it. You threw it together, just to get it out there, and I loved it. When I went, it was open, so like I'm sure there's plenty of people that experienced it, but like I guess the downtime was what led to its demise. Um, but then
So,
yeah,
was it like issues with the animatronics or?
yeah, so from what I found was it was the animatronics. So like this thing is like tossing a tram. You know what I mean? So like
Right.
so it had to do something with most likely the suspension
Yeah.
mechanism, the animatronic not working. That thing was huge. It was gigantic. So like if that thing goes down, I'm sure it's not easy to fix. Um, you know, so I guess that's what I found online.
Yeah, that
Uh,
makes sense.
so that was 2002 it closed. 2000 and then it wasn't until 2010 King Kong made his appearance back in Universal over in Hollywood, and that was called King Kong 360 3D, which is I guess is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was based on 2005 Peter Jackson version of King Kong. Um, Huge success again, right? Like it had that whole 3D, like very similar to Skull Island, which actually once again Hollywood set up Florida, and it had like the same type of like movie type app, right? That's basically. So why did you love it? Like, what was the thing?
Well, okay, so when we first started going to Universal, I was obsessed with the tram tour. I was obsessed with it. Um and then they were like, "Oh, we're putting in King Kong." And it was like King Kong was like the first creature feature, even though now I know that it's a kaiju movie, but like King Kong was like the first like creature feature that baby Taylor was allowed to watch. And
Got
I was obsessed with it. It was super long. It had Jack Black in it. I love School of Rock. And
School
I
Rock.
was like, absolutely. I'm so in on King Kong. And then they were like, we're gonna put it on a ride. And I was like, how are you gonna put it on the tram tour? What do you mean? Where are you gonna put it? And then we went on it for the very first time, and I remember we like went into the tunnel where the screens are, and I was like, my god, because I'd never been on like a motion simulator before, and I was like, oh my god, what, King Kong's gonna be in here? I was like losing my mind, and then I saw King Kong, and I was like, and to this day, every time I'm on a motion simulator ride, I really try to go into it, right? So like we get on Transformers every single time we're there, and I'm always like, Optimus, save us! I'm like screaming at the screen because that's the fun part. And
Yeah.
so all through, and it started with King Kong, where like I was like, he's gonna save us, mom, he's gonna save us. And my mom was like, my
Okay.
dad was like, does she know it's a movie? And I was like, he's saving us. The
Okay.
dinosaurs are gonna get us. King
That's
Kong's gonna kill them.
that's hysterical. That's so funny. Yeah, like yeah, that King Kong in Hollywood was once again a huge success. Like, and obviously when they went back to Universal, like, well, now it's in Islands Adventure. They opened Skull Island, Reign of Kong, and I think that this ride, Skull Island, gets a lot of heat for not really for. I don't know. I kind of liked it when I went. I don't know how about you, but like I enjoy the ride. Like I didn't when we went on it, and I was just like, let me see what it's about because like people are really not liking this ride, and I was like, "Nah, I liked it." Like, maybe it was just me because I liked King Kong when I was a kid. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe I so when we first went, Noah and I, um, it still had its 3D effect, and I don't know if you've been in the past couple of years, but it doesn't have the 3D effect anymore. And I now, unfortunately, baby Taylor loved motion simulators. Taylor now cannot do 3D, not at
Oh,
all.
so it's
It
like
makes me
oh,
super nauseous.
that sucks.
Will I still get on Transformers? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I will.
Transformers is great.
100%.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great.
but I think it's because King Kong kind of tosses you around a little bit.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
see the
moving
screen
parts.
and getting tossed and like yeah, and you're
Yeah.
engulfed in the screens too.
Mhm.
Like so, it's not just like
But when they took out the 3D effect, I found, because we just went when we went in October, um, I found that I don't feel nauseous getting off that ride at all.
okay,
So personally, I think the ride is significantly better without the 3D effect because I don't really think it needs it. But I also understood why it was there because it was supposed to like fully immerse you in this like dinosaur battle with King Kong. So I
yeah,
got it, but like it doesn't need it.
yeah. It still does have that nice reveal at the end. Like I love seeing King Kong. Like, like it's so
I
good.
lost my mind. Noah didn't tell me that it was like that. And I had never been on King Kong the very first time they rode it. And Noah didn't tell me that it was like that. He was just like, "Hey, just like make sure you're paying attention to the off to the side once we get out of the tunnels." And I was like, "Why? The ride should be over once we're done with the
Yeah, yeah.
tunnels." And he was like, just watch." And I was like, okay. So we like open up, you open up the doors, you go in the circle, and like from the side, like as you're like pulling up to it, I was like, what is that? I'm like leaned forward and I was like, giant King Kong.
Yeah,
Oh my god, was that the
man,
coolest thing I've ever seen?
it's really cool. It's really, really cool. Yeah, I love
Oh,
it. I love it. You know, it's I know it gets a lot of hate, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the ride. Um, one little fun fact I did find about Confrontation. So 1992, so 2 years after it opened, um, during Halloween Horror Nights, I believe it was called Fright Nights at that time, but they had a what is that like a oh my god I can't think of the word now.
a house?
No, yeah, basically a house, but like a layover,
Yeah.
right? So
I know
okay,
what I
so featuring Dark Man. I don't know. Do you know what Dark Man is? I had to research this. No, Dark
uh,
Man. Liam Neeson starred in this movie where this like professor gets blown up in his lab, and, like, they think
Oh,
he died, but, like, he's wrapped up in all these bandages, but he can't like, be out in sunlight for more than 90 minutes. I was reading up on it. This is crazy. So
I'm
they did
looking
they
at that now.
they did a Halloween Horror Nights, like,
Huh.
layover, and so they put Darkman in the ride and in the queue, alright? Then part of this experience was that they created like a mini haunted house down in the set. So people were able to walk through this like mini haunted house, Darkman
Hmm.
the
Mhm.
haunted house, through the set of Kongfrontation. I thought that was awesome. Like
That's kind of neat.
I couldn't find any videos, nothing like that, but it just seemed like a cool idea. So
That's so
little
strange.
very strange. Very
But a fun fact: when Skull Island opened, they kind of did a similar thing where there were scare actors and boo holes through the queue.
yes. No, that queue is kinda scary. Like, when you're in that
Yeah,
line and the thing starts shaking and the lights are going and then you have that, like, crazy, like, I don't native, I guess you would call it, like, I'm like, "What is that?" That's I was good thing the line wasn't very long because nobody wanted to go on the ride.
there was a kid that was in line, and I have this knack for, like, there will be children in line either behind or in front of me who will be really scared, so I'll turn around and I'm like, "Hey buddy, it's not that scary. It's okay." And I'm 4'11", so the parents don't think anything terrible, and I'm not trying to do anything weird. They're crying and the parents don't know what to say to these kids. So I was like, "Hey buddy, it's totally fine." I was like, this is all just for the payoff at the end. I promise you, this ride is so worth it for the payoff at the end. And he was like, okay. And so, like, we chatted through the line, and the parents, I think, were just like grateful that they didn't have to deal with a screaming child. Um, and Noah was like, Taylor, this is so weird. Stop doing that. And I was like, nah, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I've got a new buddy. We're talking. We're talking. We walk right past the place where you get the 3D glasses. We get on the ride and we're taking off, and I was like, I didn't grab the 3D glasses.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, so, like, we go through the ride. Noah was laughing at me. We go through the ride. We get to the King Kong, and the kid's sitting in front of me, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And he turns around. He's like, "Did you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is the payoff at the end. I told you."
Yeah,
And then I heard him while they were leaving, and he was like, "This is my favorite ride. Let's go again."
that's awesome.
But he
That's
was
very
so scared through the queue. The queue
yeah,
was really creepy.
it's creepy. It's a creepy queue. It is. Um, yeah. So that was Confrontation. That's it was a great ride when it was around. I enjoyed it a lot as a kid. So I guess that'll take us to the end of the episode. So um, let's get into it here. So I don't know if I'm gonna even mention TikTok because it's probably not gonna be here. We're recording on Saturday, so it might not be here tomorrow. So well, like and follow us and all social media platforms, Instagram, if TikTok's still around, YouTube. Leave us a rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, join the Universally Epic Podcast community on Facebook. This episode has been brought to you by the Magic of Less Travel. If you have any Orlando trip planning questions or are looking to book your next trip to Universal, email us at our new email, universallyepicpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, have an epic week, everybody. So let's get this started. And here is Taylor Franklin. This sounds really awkward, Taylor. So I don't know. That's terrible.
We're gonna have to work out something with the
Yeah,
intro.
that was so bad. Oh my god. What we also continue our series on opening day attractions where we so stay right there and we'll be right back. Oh my god. That's wow. Wow. What is that? I didn't even get through 3 words. And we're back. No, we're not. I don't know where I'm going with.